Good morning, Shark. I'm here today to ask for 100,000 USD in exchange for the 10% of stake in my company, RetroTech. Okay, imagine your grandparents in their youth. They work hard, but they spend countless hours on exhausting, repetitive tasks like manually washing clothes by hand, walking miles just to send a message or keeping track of business account using nothing but paper and pencil. That is why I create the Chrono Hub, a portable solar powered multi-utility device designed specifically to solve the inefficiencies of the mid-20th century. If your grandparents had this technology in your youth, their entire lives would have changed completely.
Okay, let's talk about the reality of the era that you are going to sell your product. Um, you must know that your target market must have been completely lost trying to use digital devices. So, how do you expect older generations to understand this?
That's a fair point, but the interface in interactive and mechanical. My grandparents have struggled for the first 10 minutes, but the intuitive design means anyone can master it. Think about the massive impact that if they had processed this stage, and they would have avoided several physical injuries from hard labor. My grandfather should have been focusing on expanding this farm, but instead he spent all his energy on basic survival. This device may look advanced, but it represents absolute freedom and time saving for that generation.
But what about the communication? Back then, crossing distances took days.
Exactly. With the build and transmitter, a message that took a week to arrive by mail now takes seconds. If they had an emergency back then, they would help immediately instead of waiting your days.
Well, let's get down with the numbers, Diego. You must know time is money, but it's also money. I really want to know what is the real cost of this invention, please.
The Chrono Hub is incredibly efficient to manufacture. It costs just exactly $25 to produce each unit thanks to recycled polymers and standard solar components.
All right, look, I really like the idea about your recycled polymers and star solar components, but what are you retailing it for?
We sell it for $120 and that gives us a very healthy profit margin of nearly 80%.
120? Mm, Look, for a young family living in the past, that can be an easy amount to pay it. It must represent a huge percentage of the monthly pays and income.
It is an investment, but look at the math. It saves them money on water, soap, and paper, and it prevents spoiled crop through better weather tracking. If a family bought the Chrono Hub, they will recover their initial investment in less than 2 months. In the last year, we did a pilot test in a rural off-grid community. We sold 2,000 units in 3 months, and we expect to earn over 500,000 in dollars in net profit by the end of the fiscal year.
Right, so the margins are definitely attractive and the scalability is there, but you must know changing historical habits is a massive challenge. Mm, I really recommend it to you marketing, but because this might require way more capital than you think.
If I had your expertise and your network shark, marketing wouldn't have been an obstacle with your help. We can distribute to this globally to development regions that still face 90-50 infrastructure challenge today.
You are very passionate, Diego. I must confess that I respect a lot of that. But look, numbers don't lie. However, it's a risky bet. But if I offered you $100,000, but I ask for the 25% of all your company, it's very risky, I know. But what would you say about it?
If you dropped it to 50%, we will have a deal right now. Together, we can change how the world views accessible technology. Thank you, Shark.
Well, 15%. It's very good. You've got a deal, right? I'm going to invest in your project, and you're going to look that we are going to increase a lot. So thanks for coming, Diego.
Thank you.